I'm Dora. The conference room was tense, the air thick with an impending sense of doom. The new CEO and the head of legal sat at the table, their faces stern as they stared at the man in front of them. That man was my father. He stood, his arrogance now wavering, as disbelief and fear etched across his face. He turned to me, his voice shaking with betrayal. "You did this," he whispered. I met his gaze calmly. "No. You did this. I just stopped covering for you." It was a far cry from the days when I was a helpless child. I remembered how everything began to crumble when I was just 21. My family was part of a close-knit community in a small town. My father, Mr. Johnson, was a well-known figure in the local business. He was a man full of bravado, always believing the world owed him. My mother, Mrs. Johnson, was a gentle soul, a loving homemaker whose only crime was loving a man who didn't deserve her. One evening, my mother collapsed in the living room. Her face was pale, and she was gasping for breath. I was panicked, rushing to call the ambulance. Meanwhile, my father stood in the corner, his arms crossed, looking annoyed rather than worried. At the hospital, she lay on the bed, weak and frail, with tubes running across her arms. I held her hand tightly, praying that she would open her eyes. That's when my father walked in. "Nothing's wrong with her. She's just being dramatic," he said coldly. "Stop acting like a fool and go welcome your new mother." My heart skipped a beat. New mother? I looked at him in shock, but he didn't even wait for my response. He turned around and walked out, talking on the phone. I caught the name of my aunt, Linda, my mother's younger sister. She was someone I used to love, the one who used to tell me bedtime stories. I didn't scream or cry. I was in a state of numbness. Silence was all I had then. When my mother finally woke up, her voice was barely audible. "Dora, don't leave me," she pleaded. I promised her I wouldn't. But outside her room, I saw Linda leaning against the wall, wearing my mother's favorite shawl. My father was beside her, adjusting her hair as if they were a couple. Linda smiled at me and said, "You'll understand when you grow up." I walked past them without a word. That week, my mother lost her health, her marriage, and her sister. She never fully recovered, but I stayed by her side. I helped her through the darkest days, both physically and emotionally. Years went by. My father's affair with Linda became a full-fledged marriage, and they had 2 children. One day, out of the blue, he called me. "Dora, your stepmother and I are busy. Come take care of the kids." He said it as if I owed him something, as if his betrayal had been forgiven over time. But what he didn't know was that I had been quietly building my own life. I had gone to college, earned a degree, and landed a stable job. I had a small apartment that I paid for with my own hard-earned money. One day, he showed up at my door unannounced. His knock was the same as it used to be when I was a child, the one that used to make me tremble. I opened the door a little, just enough to see his face. He was older, but his eyes still held that sense of entitlement. "Dora, your siblings need discipline. Their mother is overwhelmed. Pack your things and come with me," he commanded. Behind him, 2 little kids stood in the hallway, looking scared and confused. I crouched down to their level. "Did he tell you why you're here?" I asked. They shook their heads. My father snapped, "Don't confuse them. Just get your bag." I stood up straight, blocking the doorway. "I don't owe you anything," I said firmly. His jaw tightened. "I gave you life," he countered. I almost laughed. "And you destroyed the person who made that life worth living," I replied. He tried to push past me, but I didn't budge. He looked inside my apartment for the first time and realized that I had built a life without his help. His voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "If you don't take them, you'll regret it." But he had no idea that I had been waiting for this moment. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. I didn't want the kids to hear what was coming. My father crossed his arms. "Your mother raised you too soft. That's why you don't understand responsibility." I stared at him, the man who had abandoned us. "Responsibility? You mean the kind you ran away from when Mom collapsed?" I said quietly. His face twitched, the first sign of his cracking confidence. Linda then approached, holding her coat tightly.
She avoided looking me in the eye.
Dora, please. We just need help, she murmured. Help? From the daughter you both threw away? I retorted. I knelt down again and gently brushed the girl's hair. It's not your fault, sweetie. None of this is, I whispered. Then I stood up and faced my father. You chose your new family the day you betrayed my mother. Raise them yourself, I said. He stepped closer. You'll come crawling back, Dora. You always do. Not anymore, I replied. He didn't know about the power I now held. The company I worked for had recently changed ownership. 3 weeks ago, during a major restructuring, I was promoted to a position in compliance and ethics oversight, a department with the power to investigate employee conduct, including his. The next morning, he barged into the building where I worked. He thought I was lucky just to have a job there. He walked through the lobby like he owned the place, with Linda trailing behind, flustered, and the kids in tow. Where's Dora? He barked at the receptionist. The receptionist glanced at me, standing a few steps behind him, and said, Right there, sir. He spun around. I stood calmly, clipboard in hand. What is this? Do you work in HR now? He demanded. I looked him in the eye without fear. I oversee internal investigations. His face fell slightly. I held out a file. When he didn't take it, I placed it on the counter. Inside were all the documents, financial records, and reports of his workplace misconduct over the years. He paled. You can't be serious. I leaned in a little. Dad, you taught me silence, watching, and endurance. But you never taught me what to do when I had evidence. He grabbed the file and started flipping through the pages, as if he hoped the words would change. But every line, every signature, was a testament to his years of manipulation and intimidation. Linda's voice trembled. Dora, please don't do this. We have kids. We'll lose everything. I looked at the innocent kids, holding each other's hands. They didn't deserve this, but they also didn't deserve to be raised by him. My father slammed the file shut. You think you can ruin me? I'm untouchable in this company. I exhaled slowly. Not anymore. Just then the elevator dinged. The new CEO and the head of legal stepped out and walked towards me. The CEO nodded. MS. Dora, we're ready. My father stared at me in disbelief. The head of legal extended a folder to him. Mr. Johnson, you're required in the conference room for a formal inquiry, effective immediately. His jaw dropped. He was escorted into the conference room. Inside, the executive sat with folders open and screens showing all the evidence he thought he had hidden. He tried to regain his arrogance. This is unnecessary. I've served this company for years. The CEO folded his hands. And in those years, you forged documents, redirected funds, and intimidated staff. You've violated ethics protocols repeatedly. My father's face crumbled. The head of legal slid a final document across the table. This file was submitted by MS. Dora. He turned to me, his voice shaking. You turned on your own father? I met his eyes steadily. You stopped being a father the day you destroyed our family. Just then, the door opened and my mother walked in. She was weak but standing tall. Her hands trembled, but her eyes were full of strength. My father froze. You came here? My mother nodded. To witness the truth. The CEO spoke firmly. Effective immediately. You are terminated. A criminal investigation will follow. My father's knees almost gave way. Linda broke down in tears. The kids clung to each other, silent witnesses to the fall of the man who had caused so much pain. I walked forward and placed a final file in front of him, detailing every lie he had told about my mother. This is my revenge, I whispered. Not cruelty, but accountability. He looked completely shattered. I took my mother's hand, and as we walked out together, I finally felt the weight of years of silence lift off my shoulders. I had found my freedom.